Good morning, everybody on Facebook. Kurt Vonder Haar from Cheetah Mobile Device Repairs. We are your 5-star rated cell phone and tablet repair store, conveniently located in Highland on Route 143. You can find us next to Little Caesars, the mailbox store, Clarkson Eye Care. You know where to find us. You can call us during normal business hours, like right now, at 618-651-8878, or reach us 24 hours a day right here on Facebook. Hey, thanks for joining me for episode 2 of Cheetah Chat. We're going to go around and talk to interesting people in and around the city of Highland, ask them questions about maybe things that they have going on or issues around Highland, and get their feedback. So it's a good way for you to learn more about the city, more about people in the city. Last week, we had Chief Chris Conrad on Cheetah Chat. Had now almost 2,500 views on that video, so that's a lot of views for around here. So I thought for this week, who would we talk to? I was thinking, and I've got a list of people, a wish list of people that I'd like to talk to that I've reached out to. And today we're gonna stop and pick up Highland City Councilman John Hipskind. Now, John was elected in February. In the election, there were 2 available seats out of 4 on the Highland City Council, and he won the election to get one of those seats. So he was elected in February, took office, I believe, in April, and he's been advertising transparency. So being transparent with government and the things that he's involved in. So I thought, hey, let's give him a call and have him come on here and talk about some of the issues that are pressing in Highland. So we're gonna stop here and pick him up. Hey, Uber for John. Uber.
Got it. Yep.
Uber.
Here.
I didn't tell him that we were charging him for this ride.
What's up, buddy?
So everybody, welcome John Hipskind to Cheetah Chat. John, say hi to everybody on Facebook.
Hello, Facebook. Hello, Highland.
So, picking John up, I gave everybody a little introduction. Yep, put your seatbelt on. That you were elected in February, took office in April, and you know, maybe for the people, like we did on our last Cheetah Chat, maybe for the people that don't know too much about you, give a little bit of background, maybe where you came from, where you went to school, your family, and you can throw in what made you decide to want to come to Highland.
All right, yeah. So I was born and raised in Belleville. Graduated from Althoff Catholic High School. After high school, I went to your alma mater, SIUE. Got a bachelor's degree there. After that, I went to, I started my master's in public administration at Edwardsville, finished that, went on to get a law degree from Oklahoma City University, and then in between that time, I married my wife, met my wife, and
she's from Highland.
She's from Highland, Wendy Winnett, and then we ended up living in Fairview, and decided after our first kid was born that we kind of wanted just a good place to raise our family, and with good schools, and she lived out here, so we just decided to move out here, and here we are.
On the top of the list.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's great. So I know you've got a couple of kids in the school district here, and you know, tooling them around, going to all the different places around town. So what maybe talk about, you know, what are some of the positive things that you think, you know, that the city of Highland has to offer?
You know, I think the number one for me is the community feel that we have here in Highland. You know, I've lived in several communities before coming here, and just the community feel that's here is just really, it's unmatched. And I'll give you a couple of examples. You know, as I said, I moved here 5-6 years ago, and everybody that I've encountered has been incredibly gracious, kind, and welcoming. You know, I go into Truby, and all the workers there are great. You know, one lady in particular, Deb, won't let me leave the store without giving her a hug. I think she since went on to be a teacher somewhere.
People know you by your first name?
Yeah, absolutely. You go into Michael's coffee shop, and Lisa talks to you like she knows you forever. You and I went into DiMaggio's a couple weeks, and Joe sat there and talked to us for a good hour during his lunch rush.
Yeah.
You just don't.
That's how you learn about things that are going on around town.
Yeah, you don't see that in other communities. And I'll tell you another thing that I've been impressed with is just the amount of groups that we have that put on so many programs and events to really...
Optimus, Rotary, JC's, I mean, yeah, so many.
Right, yeah, they put on so many programs and events to engage the community. And then on top of that, you got the city that's putting on tons of events like the PB&J Fest. We got the Flugel Fest.
Flugel Fest coming up. That's going to be a fun one. That's a one-day wing fest that the city is holding. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, you know. And I work in Belleville, and I got people in Belleville asking me about it. So I think that's going to be a pretty cool event. And I think it's just a culmination of all those things that really make Highland different from other communities.
And what did one of your friends say? It was like a sleepy thought it was a sleepy industrial town?
Yeah, you know, before I ran for city council, I sought a lot of input from friends outside town, a lot of friends from inside Highland. And I have a good friend who's a mayor, and I went to him and I was like, hey, listen, I'm running for city council out in Highland. Tell me some stuff that I should know, or things that I should think about. And he's like, Highland, huh? He's like, it's kind of like a sleepy industrial town, isn't it? And I was like, no, it's really not. It's a vibrant community with a lot going on.
The arts, I mean, just, you know, the Muni Band, art on the square, art in the park. I mean, the arts are alive and well in our city, and I think that's the sign of a well-rounded community, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we just we have so many events going on here.
And you talked about what the city does, the HCS. I mean, how about what they do?
Yeah, you know, that's something that definitely sets Highland apart from other communities. Highland owns its own internet service, and we have the fastest internet speeds
in the country.
In the country. And you know what I learned after I got elected too, which is incredibly interesting and important, is that the Highland Communication Center has a Ethernet port that businesses could use, and it's from what I understand, a kind of just a secured port to St. Louis, to this data hub that they use.
Selling point to get new businesses in town.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think we have over 270 commercial customers just to our data center.
Yeah, their saturation is pretty high. I think even in the if you want to call it the civilian market too, I want to say it's 50 or 60%.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I think I was told between 50 and 60% saturation. No, those are all. I moved to Highland because I moved here from Edwardsville, and Edwardsville was getting very congested. I think maybe it grew too quickly. I don't know. I went to college there too, so I've been there for a while, but I kind of felt like it was getting congested. I always knew about Highland. I grew up in Greenville, just down the road. So yeah, I think it's a great community. I've been here for 5 years, about the same amount of time you have, and I've just totally fallen in love. Well, there's a lot of great things to talk about the city, no doubt about that. Maybe on the flip side, what do you think are some of the challenges that are facing Highland right now?
You know, I think we got two main challenges, really. The first one is growth. Highland just hasn't seen the growth that it needs to see. In the past 10 years, we just really haven't had a lot of new houses, people building or moving here. We haven't had a lot of new businesses come to town. So, a lot of people have come to me and said, hey, we don't want Highland to grow. We like it how it is. But I will tell you, a significant portion of our population is older. And sadly, they're just not going to be with us forever. And we need to grow.
Attract some younger
people.
people.
We have to have younger people here. And the problem is we need revenue. The city of Highland provides so many outstanding services between our police, our EMS, fire departments, the roads department, everything else.
Those costs are increasing.
Costs are increasing, and revenue's not going up. So, if we don't find a solution to that problem, then we're going to have to start cutting services. And I don't think anybody wants to see that.
Well, I think something positive that the council has done recently is you passed an ordinance to lower the number of inspections, right, on new houses being built in the city.
Yeah, we did that. It was a very healthy debate. We took a look at the number of inspections that we had for new residential houses, and we kind of struck a balance between ensuring that the people who are building houses are getting a quality product, and then cutting those inspections that were superfluous or just kind of stupid and redundant and not necessary. So I think that was incredibly important.
Making Highland more builder friendly.
Yeah.
So the builders want to come here. I mean, how many homes do you think are being built in Highland right now? Between 5 and 10, maybe?
Yeah, not a lot. I know I have one going up by me.
I saw 2 on the way out there.
Yeah, so there's not a lot, and it's gone down quite a bit, obviously, since 2008, and we need some growth, because we do need some revenue, and I think we could do that growth in a way that complements the feel of Highland, without losing what's special about Highland.
The feel of the city. Right. Well, if you look at city annual reports, revenues have kind of flatlined over the last few years. It's at about $40 million a year, in case anybody's wondering how much that is. City operates on about $40 million budget every year, and that amount, those revenues have kind of flatlined. Now there's 3 ways that you can collect more revenue from the city or by the city. It's sales tax, so it's new businesses coming to town, collecting more sales tax. It's more people moving into town, collecting property taxes, or it's finding new revenue somehow. So where do you maybe see the path for growth for Highland?
Well, so I think we need long-term sustainable growth. And I think it's a combination of all 3 of those things that you mentioned. And how we do that is complicated, and it's kind of a multifaceted problem. I do think something that we can do is market ourselves a little bit better. Like, I was telling you, my friend, the mayor from a town around here, his perception of Highland is just wrong. It really is
and not necessarily in a bad way, but we need to talk about the positive things that are going on in Highland, and get there. People, it's a big draw from we're already a huge retail draw for people, so we just need to, I think, play on that.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's pounding pavement a little bit, and calling folks. I read in the paper that Bungie just moved its headquarters to St. Louis. We should somehow be harnessing technology and marketing to those folks to let them know what we got going on.
About the best kept secret, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No,
I think that's an easy step. But I think what we did with the inspections was a good thing too, because it sends a signal to business owners and builders that, hey, we want people to come here, and we're business friendly. Yep. We want to help you.
Yep. No, that's great. Well, let's talk about something a little more fun. That's kind of a heavy subject. So food trucks.
All right.
Food trucks has been discussed in the last couple of the last city council meetings. I think it's gotten, quite frankly, a little confusing. As I was trying to digest it. So maybe clear it up a little bit. What is the city exactly trying to do?
So we had a younger couple come into the city council and ask if they could put a trailer at Northtown to sell coffee. And I think the city realized that we didn't really have any ordinances in place to really have a check on food trucks that were coming into Highland. And obviously we want to have a check on food trucks that are coming here, because one, we want to make sure that they're safe, that the product that they're delivering.
Who's running them?
Right.
Who's working in that truck that's driving around town selling their, wares to the children and people in our town? We want to know who those people are.
Yeah. We want to make sure that they're delivering a good product to the people that are living and work here. So that was the goal, is to have a check on people who are coming in. A big concern of mine was that we have existing restaurants here that have invested in the buildings that they're in. They've invested in our community, and I think they deserve some.
And the restaurant business is tough.
I bet it is. Yeah.
I mean, I've been talking to a few guys that I know that own restaurants. It's not an easy business. So by letting people that are from out of town just come in and take some of that revenue away from them, and they're spending their money here in town. Right. So I think that's a definite one. We got to protect the brick and mortar restaurants that are here, and how many food trucks are really wanting to come here, and do business on a daily basis here in Highland? I don't know how many.
But you think about it, we have Basler over there, we have Eden. So I mean, there is a market, but I certainly wasn't going to allow, or at least vote for it myself, allow food trucks to come in here and take business away from E.L. Flanagan's or Rail Shake or DiMaggio's, when those people have invested in our community. Now, I do want to say though is that I think the food trucks are a good thing for events. Like I think it would be cool to maybe have food trucks on a Friday night, maybe with the Muni Band, to give folks in Highland, something different to do.
Yeah, well, we've been putting our heads together, and we've talked to a few people around town. So more to come on maybe food trucks and what can be done with food trucks here in town. So let's talk about something that you ran on when you were running for city council, the city pool. I think we all know that the city pool been there since 1965, and it's seen its better days, and probably the people that built it didn't envision that in 2019 that it would still be operating as is. So maybe talk about where you see that project going.
Yeah, so I think if we went to the people who built the pool in 1965 and told them that we were debating whether we should continue the existence of the pool in 2019, they would look at us like we're crazy. The pool now is a great spot for the community to kind of come together, but it's just dated and needs to be upgraded or replaced. I'm a huge advocate of replacing it, and so I'm laser focused on convincing the other people on the council that's something that we need to do and take a hard look at.
Yeah, and maybe it's something that could be a revenue generator for the city. I've thrown that comment out on Facebook a couple of times, and people have kind of thrown some stuff back. But as I look at my customers that come into my store, the thousands of customers that we've had, and we track where every single customer comes from. We ask them, it's from here east and from here south, is where I see a lot of the people coming to Highland from. I think there's a huge segment of the population that would come here and go to a water park in Highland. So something the city, I'm sure, needs to do a study maybe about. I know there was something that they, I think, voted down before you were on the council to take a closer look at where maybe something like that would need to go.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in that. The city council voted down a proposal to do a study to see where the best place would be to put a pool. Instead, we're spending money to tell us whether or not the existing pool needs to be upgraded.
It drops 8 inches a day in water.
Or
something that, I don't know if it does that now, but that's what they reported at the beginning of the season. So that's a little shocking, and it's just money literally going right down the drain.
Yeah, I think so. I could tell you it needs to be replaced. But I do want to say this too, because I don't want to be speaking out both sides of my mouth here. Raising taxes is a non-starter for me. So, I'm not going to be a proponent for the pool if we're going to have to burden our taxpayers anymore. The state's already killing us. But I will tell you that the bonds at the Cordy Rec Center are close to being paid off. And we could use that money towards a pool. So kind of the status quo would remain the same. There would be no extra.
So the city would keep making the same payments. Correct. And be able to get that loan all over again, basically.
Yeah. And I think if we have a more modern pool, like you said, it's going to draw in more people from the outside. That means more people are going to be patronizing places.
More people are going to drop their phones and come to my store and get it fixed.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And go to our restaurants, go to our stores.
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of it's a no-brainer, really.
A couple more topics we're going to touch on, and then drop you back off at your house here. But the public safety building, I know that's something a lot of people have asked about, wondering where's that project at. We haven't heard anything for a while.
Yeah, so the brunt of this was discussed before I was elected, but I will tell you, since I've been elected, we recently took some action on it. Essentially, the bids came back for this building, and they were all too high. It wasn't within the budget that we want to be in, so we essentially rejected the bids. The police chief, who's doing an excellent job, is scaling down the project a little bit, and we're going to send it out for bids and hopefully get a lower price.
So more to come on the public safety building, and that's the combined police and fire department building, right? So just in case people are wondering what the public safety building, it's not city headquarters moving over there. This is the fire and police department being combined into one headquarters, correct?
It is, and I'll tell you, if anybody is wondering why we're doing this, please go take a look at our current police department. and the firehouse. It's just not suitable for a community.
Yeah,
like
the police department, I went up and picked up Chief Conrad last week when we did this same Cheetah Chat, and it's tough to get to. It's in a neighborhood, so it's dangerous for them to go zipping in and out of that neighborhood.
Right.
And, they're cramped in there. I think that building was meant to be a temporary building when it was built anyway. It wasn't meant to be a permanent home for the police department. So, yeah, in a first-class city like we have, we need to support the police and fire and have first-class facilities
100%,
for them. Yeah.
100%.
So let's talk about a hot button item. Whenever I put a feeler about this Cheetah Chat out there, got the most comments on this. So January 1, the state of Illinois is going to allow sales of recreational marijuana. So the question has come up, will the city of Highland allow a dispensary within the city limits? So what do you think about that?
Well, so let me say this. I'm a one of four, so I obviously just one vote. But I do want to say this. I have no problem with anybody that uses medicinal marijuana or not. Honestly, it's a personal choice.
Or recreational marijuana. Let them do what they want.
Yeah, quite frankly, I think it's no worse than alcohol, and it's a personal choice, and I don't care. I talked to the city attorney about this last week, and he's putting us in a position where we need to either opt in or opt out before January 1st as to whether or not
people are going to start to be interested in opening up one, and they're going to come in front of the council and ask.
Yeah, and so I've given this a lot of thought, and I don't know how many people realize this, but since the federal government hasn't legalized it, these businesses are operating as a cash business, because once you use your credit card and you're crossing state lines through the wires, that gives the federal
they're
government.
not allowed to use federal banking.
Yeah, exactly.
Banking system, it's an all cash business.
It's an all cash business. You got armed guards in there, and I just don't think it's a good look for Highland. I don't think it fits here. So I'm against it personally. If it comes before me, I'm going to vote against a dispensary in Highland. I really don't see my opinion changing on that in the near future. And just another quick comment is, I was talking to a friend who lived down the street from a dispensary, and he was telling me that there's huge lines out in front of this dispensary in the mornings before it opens. And I don't think our business owners around here would want that.
Yeah, I question if I would I want one next to my Cheetah store. I mean, and I'm not saying which side I'm necessarily on, yay or nay, whether they should allow them in Highland, but I would question whether I'd want that. The other thing, you got to think about is, what's the bottom line to the city on these dispensaries? So I looked it up. The average dispensary in revenue brings in between $500,000 and $1 million. Now, if you got $1 million store in Highland, you're bringing in $5,000 a day. Let me tell you, that's a high producing store in Highland if you're bringing in that kind of revenue. That's a lot of money. So if you're bringing in $1 million, you're talking about $80,000, because all the city is getting is the sales tax. Tacking on all of this taxes, these 25% things you're hearing about, that's going to the state. So the city is going to get their share of the sales tax. So out of $500,000 or $1 million, at most you're talking about $40,000 to $80,000 that the city is going to add to their coffers. And you have to think about, what are the other, downstream effects of having a business like that in town, in law enforcement, and different things that are going to happen. And I think that $80,000 could be eaten up potentially pretty fast.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the burden on our police and other city resources would just outweigh any benefit.
A lot to think about, but that's what's great about government and debate is people can debate and ask questions, and the city council meetings are open to everybody. I've been attending for about 6 months, and people should go and get involved in the city council meetings. So, I think, I really want to appreciate you, John, joining us, on the Cheetah Chat. It's great to have our public officials, I think, willing to come out and talk openly about, the issues that are going on in Highland. And maybe I'll turn it over to you. Is there anything that maybe you wanted to say to everybody out there on Facebook before you go?
I want to say something to you. I think what you're doing is incredibly important. The summaries that you put out there for people is informing our citizens. I think it's getting them more engaged. I think you're shining a bright light on government, and I think when we have an engaged citizenry, that the the government works more effectively and efficiently. So
I appreciate you saying that.
I appreciate it wholeheartedly. I think a lot of people in Highland do. And to the folks on Facebook, I've made myself, I try to make myself as accessible as possible. So
Yeah, how can they get a hold of you?
You can call me on my personal cell phone, which is 618-604-5952. You can check out my Facebook page, John Hipskind, City Councilman. I also hold a coffee with your councilman on the second Saturday of every month, so at Michael's Coffee Shop from 9 to 10. So, and you know, if anybody reaches out to me, I'm always open for lunch or a meeting or whatever.
You know, that's how I got a hold of John. I got his phone number off of Facebook.
Yep.
And I just gave him a call one day and said, hey, I'd like to have lunch with you and talk about some things going on in the city. At the time, it was actually feather signs. That's what I wanted to ask you about, was the feather sign ordinance, and I wanted to find out, you know, what the details were about the feather sign ordinance. So it's funny how things kind of come together sometimes, but thank you for joining us. For everybody that goes on the Cheetah Chat, we're giving you the Charger. Not the Charger, but a replica purple Charger. You can put that on your desk there at home.
I love it. Nice.
So to commemorate, join the Cheetah Chat. So, John, thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you, Kurt.
Yep. And let me end the Uber ride on here real quick. Okay.
All right.
7662. It'll just be going right on your credit card, so you won't even
Yeah,
notice it.
put it on my tab. See
All
you
right.
guys.
Thanks,
See you,
John.
buddy.
So everybody, that was John Hipskind, Highland City Councilman John Hipskind. Really nice of him to join us and talk about, you know, some of the issues going on in Highland. Some of them may be a little controversial. Some of them, you know, when you go to the city council meetings, not everything is all that exciting. You know, 90% of it sometimes can just be kind of monotonous, but there's a 10% little nugget sometimes that's just something where you go, wow, you know, that's interesting to think about and how that's going to affect our city. And we've got a great city. So it's nice to have guys like John that are coming out and talking to us on the Cheetah Chat. So I wanted to appreciate, you know, thank everybody for joining me on Cheetah Chat. If you like the content that I'm putting out there, the best thing you can do is go on the Cheetah Mobile Device Repairs Highland page and click on like, follow. If you do that, you'll be notified every time I put some content out there. It'll show up on your feed. When I do a live, it'll pop up right there on your feed that Cheetah's doing a live, and you can check out what we're doing. We're doing lots of video content and putting lots of stuff out there. So I really appreciate you guys joining us. And so I'm Kurt Vonder Haar from Cheetah Mobile Device Repairs. We are your 5-star rated cell phone and tablet repair store, conveniently located in Highland on Route 143. You can find us there next to Clarkson Eye Care, Little Caesars, the Mailbox Store, RP Lumber, All About You Nails, H&R Block. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out. We're a busy stretch. You can call us during normal business hours like right now at 618-651-8878, or reach us 24 hours a day right here on Facebook. Everybody, have a great day.